Okay, everyone, welcome back. We are in the home stretch of our session today and looking forward to having our final presenter bring us home with a bit more of an active session. So I want to really welcome, and again, the beauty of virtual is that we have Andrea here to do this with us, and otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to bring her in. So Andrea is a health and physical activity education teacher in the York Region District School Board in Ontario. She's a strong advocate for people living with disabilities and has presented on equity and inclusion for people with disabilities for the Holland Blearview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, Sick Kids Hospital, and the Jumpstart Inclusive Play Project. And although I've been following Andrea on social media for years, we only finally got to meet last December at a national research piece that we were part of together. So, but super excited to have Andrea here today. She's got a massive breadth of experience. And I see that she started screen sharing, and I think that maybe froze her a little bit. So we'll just maybe give it a second for that to pop back on. Andrea, I'm going to turn it over to you. So hopefully you're ready to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you see, give me a thumbs up if you see my screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm clear. Okay. I'm so excited to be here. This workshop connects with me close to heart. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Just a quick background. I've been teaching for 19 years now, 17 years as a health and physical education teacher in the elementary panel, meaning kindergarten, grade 1 to grade 8 in Ontario. I also have two children. My older daughter, is 11 years old. You'll hear me talking a lot about her within this workshop. She has multiple disabilities ranging from a rare genetic disorder called Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, also on the severe end of the autism spectrum, and she is also having a cortical vision impairment. So I'll bring a lot of her into this workshop, and having the two hats of mom advocate intersecting with my role as a health and physical education teacher is this wonderful workshop called Play Beyond the Label. When I present, it's very interactive. However, virtual is a total different world for me for the health and physical education world. So I welcome you to raise your hand, ask your questions in the chat box. I have Andrea Carey to help me moderate. So Andrea, if there's something that happens to pop up in the chat box that I missed, please feel free to interrupt me, and I have no problem with it. All right, so we're gonna get started right away. So the workshop objectives, first off, number one, I wanted to review just the knowledge of students' disabilities. So you'll hear me interchanging the term disability, special needs, exceptionalities a lot, but I'll try my best to stick with the term disabilities. And I'll also refer to the learner as students just because I have my teacher hat on, okay? Number two, also understanding how to provide appropriate accommodations and modifications and the difference between those two terms to support student achievement and success, whether you are in the education field or the physical activity provider field, or even at the high performance level in the coaching level, okay? And the last part is pretty neat. I usually take my participants through a 3-part interactive lesson where we're actually playing all the games. But for today, I've tried my best to make it the virtual world in my phys ed classroom. And I'm going to try my best to keep it as interactive as possible. So once again, add your information, any questions you want in the chat box throughout the workshop. So let's get started. So I wanted to take you through a thinking routine. And what a thinking routine is just to get your minds on and what the topic we're going to talk about today, okay? So I'm going to show you a series of different pictures of people that are right in our community, okay? I want you to, number one, take a look at the picture. And number two, this is where you're going to show me some participation in the chat box. You're going to take off the hat that you're wearing right now, whether it be a teacher's hat, a support staff hat, community organization, advocate, athlete, coach, but you're going to think from society's perspective. I want you to share what you think this person can or cannot do. Okay, so not from your perspective, what you think this person can or cannot do. Okay, let me just get this minimized. Here we go. So get your fingers ready into the chat box. Here's a picture of a Caucasian woman, glasses, sitting in a wheelchair. Please share from society's perspective what you think she can or cannot do. Cannot walk, thank you. Think about life skills, right? What did you do this morning to get to where you are today, whether you're working at home or you had to go into work? Cannot run, can cook. Interesting. Think about getting dressed, communication, can brush teeth, cannot drive, cannot provide for herself or family. Thank you. Anything that she can do from society's perspective. Can brush, style her hair, yeah. Very well-dressed person, yeah. She can use her arms, definitely can tell by her wheelchair. Confident, can speak. Okay, I'm gonna give you, show you who Heather is. Heather is an athlete who I compete with. I'm part of an organization called, an organization where we race at a competitive level, running alongside able-bodied athletes. And this organization is called My Team Triumph Canada, where we advocate to get athletes who have disabilities starting at the front of the line instead of way at the back of the line. So when I'm racing, I'm pushing my daughter in her racing wheelchair. And this is where I met Heather. Heather is a triathlete. She is a mother, she is a wife, and she's also, someone said she speaks very confidently and communicates very well in the chat box. Yes, she is actually an advocate and does guest speaking across Ontario. So her advice to educators, physical activity is a chance to help each and every student to learn to use the body they have in the best way possible. Okay. Thank you for all your responses. I'm going to show you another picture. Here we have a little boy in his stander. He's on the grass with a soccer ball in front of him. So I want you to jump into the chat box. What do you think he can or cannot do from society's perspective? And once again, think about maybe positioning of him, who's with him in the picture, can experience joy. Thank you. Can kick, can play, definitely. Can be in the community. Thank you. He's out there. He's on the grass. Make people feel love, happiness, and laughter. What do you think he cannot do? Can interact with others, okay. Can't participate in risky play, might be something individuals would say. Thank you. May not speak, he cannot drive. Thank you. So I'm going to jump on quickly to Sebastian. Sebastian is 9 years old. He's actually one of my daughter's friends. He is nonverbal, but amazing enough. He's cognitively at his grade level, and he communicates solely with his eyes. He has an iPad that is calibrated to his eyes, and when you talk to him, his eyes go as fast as how you would think someone would be talking. He also has a service dog. He's a grandson and a friend, and his advice to educators: get to know me. I have a lot to say, and I understand you too. Okay, I'm going to jump onto the next picture. This is a little girl sitting on the couch, and I want you to think from society's perspective what you think she can or cannot do. Once again, think about, even if you have children, what did you do this morning to get your children to school, whether it was online or face-to-face? Think of feeding, toileting, getting dressed. Think about when you walk to the grocery store. What do you think society thinks of these people when they see them out in the public? Can play. Thank you, Andrea. What do you think people assume she cannot do? Cannot socialize. Thank you. Feed herself. Yeah. Maybe just by how her arms are positioned or what you see in the picture. Can have lots of fun. Yeah. Can tell she's smiling. I'll wait for a few more responses. Cannot walk. Okay. So here we have Emma. Emma is age 12. She's a bossy older sister. She's a daughter. She's diagnosed with a developmental delay, and she has a form of dwarfism. She is in high school currently. So this was a picture that was taken back then when she was 12. And she has a power wheelchair to move from point A to point B. But she is integrated into her high school. However, she's in a community class where she's with peers who are cognitively at her level. Her advice to educators: help build my confidence and the confidence of those around me to show people that I am capable. Okay. I'm going to jump to a video right now that I wanted to show you to just summarize this thinking routine that I took you through. And first of all, I want to thank you for sharing your comments in the chat box on what society's perspective is on these pictures that were shown. But when you watch this video, I want you to think about, from your role as an educator, physical activity provider, or whatnot, of how this video connects with you. Okay, and Andrea, please let me know if this sound does not work. You just got to give it a few seconds.
Your heart sings like a kettle, and your words, they boil away like steam, and the lie burns long while the truth bites quick. Our heart is built for both, it seems. You are lonely as a church despite the queuing out your door. I am empty as a promise, no more. When the time comes and rights have been read, I think of you often, but for once I meant what I said.
I always tear up when I watch this video. This video is called Eyes of a Child. And I really thought it was a nice video to close up what we were doing just now with the pictures. Quick question. I have 3 questions for you, and these are guiding questions, and I want you to write in the chat box your responses. Okay. So, oh, someone says, wow, thank you. Okay, first question. What assumptions were the adults making about the people on the screen during the first few rounds of this activity? So you saw that the parent and the child were divided. There was a screen in front of them, and they had to mirror. What assumptions were the adults making about the people on the screen at the first few rounds? They were normal people, yeah, neurotypical. They were assuming that the adults were choosing to make those silly faces, yeah. Fun, appropriate. Leslie, thank you for saying that. Why did you choose the word appropriate in quotations? That it was appropriate to copy them, yeah. My mom will tell me, don't make that face, otherwise it might stay that way, okay? I think this illustrates that the adults had a filtered perspective. Thank you. Okay, take a look at this question. How might external factors such as age, background knowledge, experience, education change the reactions of both the adults and children at the end of the video? So at the end of the video, you had a girl in a wheelchair who did the exact same thing. She did a funny pose, stuck her finger up her nose. But what do you think was different? Like it was so raw. Think about, I guess, the experiences we have as adults versus children. A child sees a child, not someone different from them. Yep, the adults have lived their whole lives being told that folks like the nose picker are different, and that it isn't okay to talk about that kids just see them as someone making a face. Thank you. Sorry, my eyes aren't that well when the font is so small. The parent saw the disability. Bang on, right? I showed my son this video, and he's 3 years younger than my daughter, and he was just like, what's wrong? This is funny. Like he didn't understand why the adults were not doing what the person on the screen was making the funny faces. And I just thought that it was really fascinating to see, because there's so many things around us, external factors that can hinder or create biases for us that we might not even know as educators or in our leadership role, that yes, it may affect how we deliver our programming, right? And it's just a food for thought. Number 3, how does watching this video prompt you to reflect your own teaching practice, coaching practice, programming provider practice in your role in physical education or in sport? Lead by example. Thank you. And I even think being in the education sector, it's just so important to have an open mind, whether you have experience in this field or not, right? Definitely. Thank you, Daniel. Keep it fun when you can. Awesome. Keep the comments coming. I'm just going to jump into the next slide to make sure I stay on time. So this part of the workshop is where we're going to be going through the umbrella of understanding different types of disabilities. I'm also going to give you a few snapshots of short videos and pictures of in my school. My school is a kindergarten to grade 8 school, mainstream school. However, we also have, we're very lucky to have a community class. So a community class in my school board is a segregated class within a mainstream school, where there are a maximum of 6 kids. This community class is a designated autism class. These students are not able to handle the mainstream classroom. However, they are in their own programming most of the day, but then there are opportunities where they're integrated. So when this class is integrated, they come to me for phys ed, where they are integrated with peers their age or age appropriate, and other subjects such as music and art, and obviously they're outside for recess. Okay, so just to give you some background knowledge of the examples I will be showing you. So the first type of disability I wanted to go through, it's really important to know your learner. And if you don't know your learner, my biggest rule is any game is not the best game if you are not able to accommodate or modify the activity to meet your learner's needs. Okay, so the first disability that I want to go through is a cognitive or intellectual disability. Individuals who are diagnosed with a cognitive or intellectual disability exhibit a significant delay in measured intelligence, adaptive functioning, and academic functioning. So this can be acquired brain injury, very common in our education system, autism spectrum, neurological impairment, and Down syndrome. So Bella, who's my daughter, she is 11 years old, but she's cognitively at a 12-month-old baby. So when you see her, she's not that little toddler I can take out in the community anymore, but it's very hard for the community to understand because she acts like a baby, right? But she's probably almost my height now, right? So when you have a student in your class or program with a cognitive disability, it's really important to understand how to modify for this learner, okay? So I'm going to show you a quick video right now. This video is taken in the community class when they come into the gym on their own for their own phys ed programming. So they have phys ed twice a week, just by themselves. I work very closely with this teacher that you see in this video to create their individual physical education program. So in their IEP, their individual education program, I help her create their phys ed program page where they have individualized target goals, and where I work closely with the PT OT to make sure that these goals also meet their physical needs, right? And the reason why I work collaboratively with this teacher is so that when these kids also come to me for the integrated class, I know what they are capable of, and I'm also able to create an entry point in whatever game that I'm doing. Okay, so I'm gonna this video right here is a video clip of my colleague Laura, and the student that she's with is 6 years old. He's in grade 1, but he's cognitively at a pre-K level. So the expectation that he's working on from the curriculum is a modified from the expectation, performing a variety of locomotor movements, traveling in different directions, and using different body parts. This student is unable to do this expectation right now. So the modified expectation would be just simple motor demands, such as stopping and going with a verbal and a visual cue. Okay, so I'm going to press play here.
Good job. Let's go. Stop. Good job. Stop. Right here. If he's pushing, right? Stop. Yeah. When he pushes, he's air. Yeah. Oh, unless he's partial.
Okay. Learning disability. Learning disability is also very present in our classrooms today. A learning disability is an exceptionality found in children of average intelligence who have difficulties learning specific skills. So areas of deficiency include input, so understanding the information coming in, making sense of the information that's in, and storing and retrieving and being able to understand and be able to perform the task. This affects 5 to 10% of the population, and a lot of it has to do with processing information. Okay, so the next slide, and please once again stop me if I'm going too fast, is a picture of a student in the community class, but this is during the actual mainstream phys ed class, right? And he's right now with his support worker. He's cognitively at his grade level. However, he requires the support worker to stay on task. He has a learning disability. He has challenges understanding what he needs to do at the beginning of phys ed class, such as reading the warm-up on the chalkboard, putting on his penny, finding his color group, and then completing the first activity. So as you can see, he's standing in front of his schedule board that has concrete pictures of the expectations to show him visually what needs to be done when he enters phys ed class. He's physically moving each activity on the schedule board from the to-do column to the all done column. And this helps him process the information on what expectation needs to be done at the beginning of class, okay? Physical disability. A physical disability affects a child's ability to perform physical activities. For example, a child may have trouble hearing, seeing, speaking, or walking. Children with physical disabilities may need support in the following areas, such as moving around the gymnasium, manipulating equipment, self-management. So I'm going to bring in my daughter in this example. My daughter has a physical disability. She has something called cortical vision impairment. So with her glasses, she has 20/20 vision. However, when she is in a large gymnasium with balls flying around, it's really hard for her to move safely around the gymnasium because it's hard for her to understand, I need to be able to move around the gymnasium safely, also navigating with the music playing or the noise that's happening, and still be able to perform the task. So this is something that affects her both physically and cognitively. Okay. This example over here is a video clip taken in the integrated grade 1 class. The student with his penny that's half on, just because he didn't want to put on his penny that day, is from my colleague's class. He's integrated into my class right now. He's with his EA, his educational assistant, because he has a physical disability. He has low muscle tone, which affects his ability to perform gross motor movements as compared to his peers. In this video, what you'll see is that he's out of his wheelchair. However, his EA is with him in the event that the student were to fall. The students in the class are demonstrating the ability to move and stop safely and in control with an awareness of people and equipment around him, right? So this is our gymnastics unit you'll see here, and this is one of the centers. And the students are traveling on and off the little steppers and their hurdles. However, his expectation is just to walk safely between the two rows that I've created with no prompts, okay? There you go. Okay. So I know I flew through that very quickly. Please feel free to ask me any questions regarding this. But the reason, once again, I go over this is that many educators forget to take the time to know the learner. And it's really important that we understand the different types of disabilities that are out there in our classroom so that we're able to understand how to meet their needs, okay? So the next few slides, what I'm going to do is going over the different supports that we can provide our students, whether it be in the class, phys ed classroom, or in sport, okay? Take a look over here, and this is where I want you to jump into the chat box with me. What do the following pictures have in common? In the middle top, we have a female in a wheelchair with his laptop. Oh, there's my internet. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me right now. On the right, we have a little pylon that I use in my classroom to show a student where to sit. Then we have a first then strip. We have a token system for behavior. At the bottom, on the bottom right, that's my daughter and her service dog. Someone said adaptations, all accommodations. Thank you, Kate. I think Kate's an educator. Okay, so you're right. These are all accommodations. I'm not going to read this slide. The one thing I want you to remember is that I want you to think of accommodations as stuff that you can add to the game, or activity to help support the learner to meet the expectations, whether it's to kick a ball by adapting the ball into a ball that has bells in it, instead of holding a football to send to the partner, holding a rubber chicken to send to the partner, right? So accommodations are basically things and supports that you can add to help the learner meet the expectations. The expectation is not changed. So accommodations can be instructional accommodations. So I can demonstrate how the activity should be done. I can have scribe it. I can have pictures. Environmental accommodations, the way I set up my classroom, having anchor charts on the wall, having visuals, and even assessment accommodations, a variety of ways for the student to demonstrate their learning. Okay. On my next screen, I forgot to move that yellow, ignore that yellow arrow at the bottom. No worries for that. So I have two examples here, and I wanted to share with you what these two examples have in common, okay? So the first example, what we have is expectation in our Ontario curriculum, the phys ed Ontario curriculum, would be locomotion skills. So such as learning how to slide, walk, skip, run, jump, gallop, and a modified, if you have a child who is unable to do this expectation, okay? I will give you an example. My daughter has a physical disability. She is unable to meet this expectation. Her modified expectation would be simply learning how to stop and go on verbal command. Okay. Expectation example number 2. Another expectation from our Ontario curriculum is sending an object to a target. And a modified expectation, if a learner is unable to meet that expectation, I have a picture of a bucket, and the student would just be asked to hold the object and drop the object into the bucket. So after I have explained these two examples, what do you think these two examples have in common? What did I do to the expectations to help the learner be successful? And feel free to write it in the chat box. So we knew what the expectation in the curriculum was. What did I do to it to help the learner be successful? Thank you. Oh, Kate, for sure Kate is a teacher. Adapted the task for success. Thank you. So those two examples were examples of modifications. So when a child is unable to meet the expectations, it's really important we understand how to modify the expectations. So modifications are changes made to the age-appropriate grade level expectations for a subject in order to meet the student's learning needs. So it's a significant change, okay? Oh, thank you, Paul. Created achievable goals. Thank you, okay? So this is probably the last part. I feel so bad because I had to take out a lot of this workshop in order to meet the timing, but we're entering the last part of our workshop right now, where I'm going to take you through a 3-part lesson, okay? So before I go through that, I really wanted to make sure that I took these 2 screenshots. The golden rule whenever we're teaching a game, delivering an activity, even if we are going to take your athletes through a specific drill or activity, it's really important that you know your learner, okay? And taking that time to know your learner will help them be successful, because whatever game that you have planned, if you don't even know the learners, that game and activity that you spent so long in planning won't even be accessible or even realistic for the athletes or the students that you have, okay? So what we're going to do right now, that's a picture of my entrance board when you come in. I'm going to take you through a 3-part lesson. So a 3-part lesson is education lingo. A 3-part lesson is basically a minds-on activity, an action activity, and a consolidation activity. So these steps in a lesson plan help the students in my class meet the learning goal. So the learning goal that I have up there says, we are learning how to try our best when sending and receiving a variety of objects while working alone and with others. This learning goal is in student-friendly language for my class of grade 4s. Okay, and this learning goal is comprised from expectations in our Ontario curriculum. So for this unit, this was our learning goal for the next 4 weeks. Okay, and all the games and activities that I do in my unit connect back to this exact learning goal. Okay, and when we're meeting this learning goal, I always like to deliver my lessons in a 3-part lesson, and that's what I'm going to take you through now. The first one is called a minds-on activity, and this is where the skills, concepts, and strategies to the learning goal is introduced, okay? I'm going to go into the next one. So the first game we're going to play is called Flip the Hoop. I'm going to explain the game, and then I'm going to show you how it's played. So the setup of the game, you're going to place the students in groups of 2, so they're working in pairs. You're going to have them stand with their partners at a safe distance apart at the starting line. Each group is going to have 1 hoop and 1 object to throw. So partner A stands at the starting line to throw the object to partner B, who is standing in the hoop in front of partner A face to face, ready to receive the object. So when partner A sends the object to partner B is successful at receiving the object, they're allowed to flip the hoop forward in the direction of the finish line. If partner B is unsuccessful at catching the object or receiving the object, they cannot move the hoop. So the objective of the game is to work together in pairs to move the hoop from start to finish, okay? And here's what it looks like. So you see partner A is standing right there in the green penny. She's sending her object to partner B, who's standing in the hoop. So they've already made it from the starting line all the way this far, okay? And the objective of the game is to send this chicken or whatever object they chose to her partner B, and then they slowly move the hoop towards the end, okay? So it's a really fun game that I played with my class. And this, once again, connects back to the learning goal, sending and receiving objects while working together, okay? And then this is where I'm going to put you to the test, okay? I'm going to give you a student profile now of a student who is in this class, okay? Sophia is in grade 4. She's a student with autism spectrum disorder. She has some fine motor difficulties, including grasping small objects. She also has a sensory processing disorder, which includes sensitivities to loud noises and visual stimuli. So think about that game in your head. Can you tell me in the chat box if the student needs accommodations or modifications or both, knowing the student profile I just read? And please feel free to write in the chat box. So if this student, both, okay, thank you, Michelle. So don't forget, accommodations is adding stuff to the game to help the student be successful. Modifications is changing the expectation to help the learner meet the needs, meet the expectations. Someone else says both. I'm curious, why do you say both? I don't know if you can turn on your mic, or you can type if you don't feel comfortable turning on your mic. Okay, Jenny says accommodations. Thank you, Jenny. Both could change the object to something larger, but also could adjust the expectations. Okay, access to large, easy catch objects, accommodations. Modify would be shorter distance to cover. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the answer. The answer would be just modifications, and maybe I didn't give you enough information, okay? And this is why I'm gonna catch myself in this mistake. I didn't tell you that this student, Sophia, is at grade 4 level, okay? Because she is at grade 4 level and cognitively in phys ed, she's actually at working at expectation. I actually don't need to change the expectation of sending and receiving while working with her partner. So I'm gonna say yes. All the examples that you've given, accommodations is correct. Changing the object, maybe even having no noise, do the task with no one talking. However, someone said, I'm just going to scroll back up saying, Paul said leaning towards accommodations, modifications. So if Sophia has a hard time focusing, and it could be due to her sensory processing disorder, just the loud noises, the objects flying left, right, and center, right? Changing the expectation of just static, where she doesn't have to move the hoop from point A to point B, and just Kate says just having it to send and receive the object at a short distance, that would be modifying the expectation. So I agree with Kate. So it could be accommodations and or modifications, but once again, we kind of need to know more about the learner in order to make that decision if we're going to modify the expectation of the game. So thank you everyone for participating in that one. Okay. Action activity. So action activity is where the students get to really practice the skill, concepts, and strategies introduced in the learning goal. So once again, the learning goal is sending and receiving with a variety of objects while working alone with the others. So this game, I'm just gonna explain it out loud. It's called Mic Drop. And the students work in groups of 4 or 5, standing in a circle with a pool noodle. Each of them will have a pool noodle. And the goal of the game is to drop their pool noodle, which is their mic, and move one step to their right to their peer's spot. So they got to move at the same time while catching the other person's mic before it drops on the ground, okay? So you can see over here, this is where we're playing it for our daily physical activity outside. As they drop the mic, the student wearing the jeans is moving to her right, and that person's moving to her right, and so forth. Okay, and once again, this is another game meeting the learning goal. Here we have Angie. Here's another student profile. She's also in grade 4, cognitively at grade 3 level. She has cerebral palsy that affects the motor movement of the left side of her body. She travels using a walker and is able to stand on her own. Okay, and this, oh, I already gave you the answer. Okay, so over here, I actually said that she needs both accommodations and modifications because she has a physical disability where her left side of the body is not as able-bodied as her right side of the body. We're going to be able to change the expectation, and also provide modifications. So here I have a picture of scarves. Scarves will be easier to send and receive. And maybe the modification would not even be moving, right? Where it would be static, where sending and receiving with her peers, okay? I'm just looking at my clock right now. I have 5 more minutes. I'm gonna quickly go through. Andrea, if you can hop onto the mic, I wanna ask you a quick question.
Okay, here I am.
Okay. I'm going to jump quickly through the last activity, and then the video at the end would be 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to show you is our consolidation activity. And this is where I would take my students through 5 different centers where they get to practice their skills, concepts, and strategies and be able to demonstrate it in a different way. So once again, they are still meeting the learning goal of sending and receiving a variety of objects in different ways, alone and with others, okay? I'm going to skip the student profile for now, but what I want you to really understand is that all these examples still meet the same expectation, but all of the variety really not just helps the students with disabilities, but helps all students be successful, whether it be adding visuals, adding different types of equipment. So right over here is a game called ladder ball, where students have to send a string ball to the ladder. Each ladder is at different points. Another corner of the gym, we have curling going on, sending the rocks to a target. Here we have, you've probably seen this game go viral on Twitter or Facebook, is a game of sending the object into a target, but it's a tic-tac-toe grid where they're working against another person, another teammate. This game I made up, I'm very proud of. It's called Dice Bonk, where they have to send, you can see the purple rubber chicken, to knock the dice off of the pylon. And whatever number shows up on the dice, that's the number the team gets. And the goal of the game is to get to number 21 the fastest. So even though you have good aim, it doesn't mean that you'd be the first team to win, right? Because whatever number shows up in the dice, that's the number you get. This game is called Hole in One, kind of like golf, but you're sending the object into the hoop, but the goal of the game is to not knock down any of the pins, okay? So this comes to the end of my workshop. Once again, I apologize for rushing through everything, but I'm going to share my contact at the end. The biggest thing that I want you to leave with is that if everyone, whether you're an educator, parent, physical activity provider, coach, if you just take the time to get to know the learners, it would just be great for the whole community. And the end goal is that you just want them to move, enjoy movement, and move with a purpose. So this last video is a video that I created to share the journey of the community class that's in our school and how they are learning alongside students and peers their age in an integrated environment, okay? And once again, let me know in the chat box if you can hear everything. It just takes a few minutes for the sound to come on.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, when you get what you want but not what you need, when you feel so tired but you can't sleep, stuck in rivers, and the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Lights will guide you, and ignite you. I will try to fix you. And high up above all If you never try, you'll never know just what you know. Lights will guide you.
So that's the end of the workshop. So sorry that I went over by 3 minutes, but here's my contact information. Let me know if you need anything else, but I'm here. I'm very grateful that Andrea Stacy invited me. I hope you have an awesome rest of the day. But thank you so much. It was such a privilege to be part of this great event.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea. And what a pleasure to get to share this stage with you. I have so much respect for the work that you're doing and the inclusion that you're creating in classrooms and gyms and many other settings across the country. So thank you for that. So yeah, I do just want to acknowledge each of our speakers today. It's been such an incredible few hours together. And so I want to acknowledge Marco, who kicked us off this morning, Bruce, Carolyn, and Richard for an incredible panel, and then Andrea for this great last session. So Andrea, I know, is going to share her contact in the chat box, but yeah, some incredible information and presentations today. And a big thank you to all of you for sticking with us through a 3-hour Zoom session. I also want to thank Pisces for being our virtual host today and learning as we went in the creation of this. So a huge thanks to the team at Pisces for pulling this off and making this maybe our new normal. I also want to thank Morgan Chandler, who was a volunteer that stepped in to assist us in getting this session up and running. And then to the Victoria Foundation for the financial support for today and for all of the work that OneAbility does. And last but not least, I want to circle back to the incredible Alec Nelson, who is back with us to close us off. Alec set us up for such a great day today with opening our session and giving us some good intentions to move into this space together. So I'm going to turn it back over to Alec, and when he wraps up, that is the end of the session. So over to you, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Andrea. This past 3 hours has been awesome and wonderful, and boy, golly, eye openers in many ways. And I just go back to my analogy of the cedar tree and that lightning bolt that caused a cedar bough to land on the ground. And I just found it so awesome. These last this presentation regarding children, and that's where my mind went. Was the day after this storm hit, it becomes nice and calm, and there's a little boy that picks up the same cedar bough, and knowing it has magic, and it starts to behave in a way that it's just encouraging. And there again is the resilience that I start to sense with all the speakers here, and then the stories that follow. I can't say enough about that. And at the same time, I do say, Creator, thank you for offering us this togetherness. Thank you for offering us the messages and the experiences and ways that we could look forward to continue our personal growth, and especially for our children. And with this, I just want to say, Andrea, thank you, and for the invitation to be a part of this. Thank you once again for coming to shake hands with our hearts. Take care and be safe. Way.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day.